What's up, y'all? No fooling. I am doing a Bible trip, like off the cuff or off schedule. And I'm having to do this because what happened last time? It was all windy and stuff. And messed up my transmission, man. I wasn't able to keep a stable signal. So I had to cut out on y'all. You know, not strong enough to carry that video signal. I'm just kind of killing a little time really quick while I pull up me some jams. You know, have me some tunes while I get this Bible trip on.
Music. You're
Hopefully.
having a conversation.
I don't want to hear your commercial, man. Just play the song. Okay. Not the commercials are bad, you know. Sometimes, you know, we got to sell our product. You know, I'm all about that entrepreneurial spirit and stuff like that, and you know, selling products. So sometimes we need them commercials. I ain't mad. I ain't hating. Okay. So, like I said, we had tried to do my trip on Thursday, you know, like we usually do, and man, it was so windy, you know, and hey, you know, got to have the wind sometimes. So the wind just kind of came in and you know, intruded. I don't want to say intruded, you know, it's part of nature, and you know, so I wasn't able to hold up the signal. And so now I'm trying to sneak one in, you know, it's like, it's not windy right now. It's like, well, hey, if the wind doesn't know that I'm going to do a Bible trip right now, you know, maybe I can get one in before the wind figures out I'm doing one and go come in and try to and blow on my parade, if you will. So I'm just going to sneak this in right now. And like I said, you know, while folks are kind of figuring out what I'm doing, I'm just kind of killing a little time. I don't know any jokes like that, man. So I'm sorry I can't entertain y'all with some jokes. You know, or play like, or burp out, you know, Yankee Doodle or something like that. I don't know. But, you know, I just turned on some jams, and why isn't it playing? What's up with that? No, not Bugs Bunny. There it is. Just had to turn it up a little bit. Okay. A couple more seconds, y'all, and I'll go ahead and get started. Coffee. Okay. About ready to rock. So we was, what I was doing was on Thursday, make sure I'm all centered up here. On Thursday, I was going over, what was he at? Genesis 4, I believe. Getting up to Genesis 4. Yes, sir. Okay, Genesis 4. And, man, I was getting ready to break wide on it. Nah, it was almost like the devil, who is the prince of the power of the air, said, no, don't tell them. And so, you know, like a punk, he figured he'd come in and try to silence me. I don't know if that's what's really happening. But anyway, all right, let me go ahead and jump into this. We're about good right now. Let's see. Okay, let me just go ahead and get started because I don't want my signal to cut out. Okay, here we go. I'm glad. Hey, thanks you guys. I see some of my regulars showing up. Thank you so much. Okay, let's do this. Let's see what we got. We're going to go on Genesis 4. And, all right, we're talking about Cain and Abel's blood. All right, Genesis 4. Now, the man had relations, being Adam, had relations with Eve, his wife. Right, so right from we're letting people know it's like, yes, God instituted marriage. Notice that the Bible is declaring Eve to be his wife. It's his spouse. So we have marriage here, and the marriage starts off and is originally and is meant to be between one man and one woman. That's marriage. It ain't nothing else. That's all it is, baby. Okay. Now, the man had relations with his wife, Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. She said, I produced. There I go making new words again. Produced. Produced. Like, what could that mean? I produced. It's like, what would produced be? It would have to do, like maybe it was something to do with like hanging somebody. It's like, I produced him. It's like, hey, produce the convicted. Okay, there you go. It's like, okay, you're putting a noose around his neck. I guess that's what produce would mean. All right. I produced a man with Adonai. Now, right there, it sounds a little weird because she's saying I produced a man. Now, guys, it's not like, you know, just because Adam and Eve never really had like a childhood, it wasn't like they were totally ignorant to what a child was. And it wasn't that Eve was ignorant to what child rearing would be, because God let her know that your suffering will increase from conception to childbirth. In paradise, it wasn't supposed to be as painful, right? And Eve was like, dang, right? She knew. It's like, oh man, I didn't realize how good I had it. So she lost that, and you know, probably a lot of women are mad at Eve because of this. But in this right here, it's not so much when she says, I produced a man. This is another one of those instances where it reads strangely because God wants you to stop and ponder that for a minute. When you and just kind of like a note, this is something that I have picked up, and you know, I'd like to pass it on to you. When you read things like that, where it sounds like worded a little bit strange, I think it's because God wants you to camp out on that for a minute and get a picture of Christ and a picture of the things that Christ will be coming, doing, and saying, and things like that. And this is an opportunity right there where she says, I have produced a man. Well, when you break it down, the word really more so refers to a male. And even when you break it down, it doesn't even really suggest a child. Like it's almost kind of weird. It's like, dude, did you produce a full-grown man? It's like, no. But even when you break it down, it doesn't really allude to a child or anything like that. But it's like alluding to a male. Okay? She produced a son. But what's important here is that this is like your first dedication. It's like almost like Eve is trying to reconcile with the Lord. This is my firstborn son. And with God, this is you. This is from me to you. Thanks be to God, I have produced a son. And this is my first dedication, my firstborn son. So we start to see the pattern of dedication, the premium on your first fruits, the first of your crop, the first of your fields, the firstborn, dedicated to God. She's already establishing that. Also, we get a picture. Eve is painting a picture of Mary. Because she says, I produced a man with Adonai. Mary produces a child with Adonai. Right? So now you have, the other picture is that, listen to what she says. I produced a man with Adonai, saying that God is with me. What does the angel prophesy? He says he will be called Emmanuel. God with us. When Gabriel comes to he shows up to report to Mary, behold, favored one, the Lord is with you. So fulfilling the prophecy of saying this child will be Emmanuel. He will be with you. It will be God with you. And then says you will call him Jesus. So right here, she's setting this up when she says that I produced a man with Adonai, God with me. And this is my first of my fruits, my first dedication. It belongs to the Lord. Then she gave birth again to his brother Abel. Abel became a shepherd of the flocks, while Cain became a worker of the ground. So we're starting to see these industries, the first of industries. Like, Adam himself, his job was to tend the garden. It was like a farm, the agriculture and the livestock. He was a farmer and a rancher. It's like the first industry being established. And he passes it on to his sons. It splits between the two. One's going to be a farmer. One's going to be a rancher. All right. So we got here, Adam became a shepherd of flocks. Okay, read that. Sorry about that. Okay, then we go to 3. So it happened after some time that Cain brought an offering. So it's like after some time. Now, what does that mean? It's like, what? God's like, what took y'all so long? Or was it after some time, after regular doing, there was something different about this offering that it came to a head? Not totally sure. Let's see. So it came, and Cain brought an offering of the fruits of the ground to Adonai. While Abel, he also brought of the firstborn of his flock and their fat portions. Now Adonai looked favorably upon Abel and his offering, but upon Cain and his offering he did not look favorably. Cain became very angry and his countenance fell. Okay, so we're starting to see these different emotions play out. Right? He gets angry and then he goes into depression. Now, check this out. Just really quick. Hey, Miriam. Thank you so much for tripping with us. Thank you. I see you on there. Debbie. Hey, Archie. Thanks you guys for showing up. Okay. Just really quick. Somebody asked me about, Christianity and depression and things like that. And It's easier said than done, guys, and there's no easy fix to things like this. God never promised an easy fix, right? Even doctors out there, you know, it can't tell you an easy fix. You know, if anything, they can give you an easy Band-Aid. You know, it's like in terms of like really getting down to the core of the problem. You know, so we address symptoms more than we address the core problem. But, you know, there's no easy fix to things like that. But right here is going to let you know, regardless of whatever emotion that you're feeling, do it without sinning. You can be happy in sin, right? You're happy and, you know, it's like I said before, you know, people get happy and say, man, I'm so happy right now, man, I want to celebrate, man. Let's get some drinks, man, before you know it, they're drunk. So they're sinning, even in their happiness. You can sin in your sadness. You know, you feel this void and you try to fill this void, you know, and do the sinful things, you know, to try to feel get a sense of completeness. You can be angry, of course, and the Bible says, you know, you can be angry, you can be justifiably angry, but don't sin. Okay, so don't go seeking vengeance and stuff like that and try to, you know, make somebody hurt more than you are. So, you know, we start to see these things, you know, taking place right here. So Cain became, you know, very angry, and his countenance fell. Then Adonai said to Cain, why are you angry, man? And why has your countenance fallen? Like God don't know, right? God knows what the deal is. If you do well, it will lift. But if you do not do well, sin is crouching at the doorway. It's like you said, right? Be angry, don't sin. Because you get angry, you start entertaining things. You want vengeance and things like that. You start doing things that are wrong to satisfy your emotions or the void that you're feeling. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. And right here, the way this reads, guys, just, you know, humor me for a second. Where it says, sin, its desire is for you, but you must master it. It almost reads like her desire will be for her husband, but you must rule over her. So even before you get to that, God is already relating to you how this is going to work out. Because you're going to have this thing that's going to want to rule over you. So when it's talking about, when God says that Eve's desires will be for her husband, the way when you break it down in the Hebrew, it more alludes to her desires will be for her husband's power. She will desire what he has, or her desires will be in contrast to what his desires are. But he has to rule over her to keep her, you know, because when a person tries to rule over you out of pride, I don't care if it's a man, woman, and try to express pride in their ethnicity and things like that, it goes bad. Pride comes before destruction, right? But Adam, as a man, he still has a duty. It's like, look, you are the first human creation. You basically have seniority, and I have put this responsibility on you. And there are going to be those, perhaps like women, are gonna see that. You know, why should we submit to men? And remember, guys, before we get carried away, you know what Christ says. It's equal submission. A man has to be submitted to his wife to the point of I'll lay down my life for you. You know, that's where Christ is looking for that balance of submission. So we don't get it twisted and think that just women are just supposed to be totally submissive to us. It's an equal submission. But in here, God is like, you have to master sin. He's letting you know. Its desire is for you, but you must master it. And how do we master sin, y'all? The way you master sin is calling on the name of the Lord. That is how you master sin. Ultimately, when it gets down to it, none of us can master sin, guys. None of us can. We don't master sin. But right here, how can we say that if God is telling us that we must master it? How you do that is that you call on the name of the Lord. You cannot master sin in your own power. You use God to master your sin. That is the only way you can master sin. Okay? So that's what Adam should have done as the man in the garden when he saw that snake push up on Eve. What Adam should have done is roll up and say, like, well, actually he was already there. That's why he had no excuse. That's the sad part. He was standing right there. But he should have mastered the situation by calling on the master. And that's when he would have shown mastery of the situation. And this is how you master your sin. You master your sin by calling on the Lord. So then from here, we say Cain spoke to Abel, his brother, while they were in the field. Cain rose up against Abel, his brother, and killed him. Then Adonai said to Cain, where is Abel, your brother? Like he didn't know. Once again, right? Like he didn't know. And Abel and Cain gets all sassy. What? Am I my brother's keeper? I look like a babysitter to you? All right. Then he said, what have you done? Like he didn't know. The voice of your brother is blood is crying out to me from the ground. Strange wording, man. Once again, this is where God wants you to kind of hold up, wants you to pray about it. Of course, he wants you to read the whole Bible, you know, because that's, you know, that's where this stuff starts to make sense. You know, because like I said, I don't just read. I'm not just looking at this and pulling out, you know, what do I think this means? What do I think this means? I can only do this because I've read the whole Bible, y'all. And if I make any suggestions, it's based on what I've read. And that's, you know, and I can't say this enough, guys. That's what we all got to do. We all got to do. It's not about what we think. I mean, we can speculate. Don't get me wrong, guys. Of course, speculate and you know, but you got to pray about it, though. You know, go to God for the answers. Like, look, you're the author, you know, and you know this book better than anybody. So I'm looking for counsel. And you got to read the whole book. And when you read the whole book, that's when you can make reflections on these passages. Okay? You got to square these passages with the rest of the book. You don't square these passages by your own understanding. You don't try to fill in spaces or go to other books and stuff like that, you know, to try to fill in spaces. Like, don't do that. It's between here, here, and here. Right? That's your study tools right there. God himself, the word, and, you know, and the intellect that he's given you, that you ask his guidance on how on to govern. Okay, so Cain rose up. Now, okay, let's back up. Cain spoke to Abel, his brother, while they were out in the field. So Cain, you know, basically coming out there with an attitude, right? They're gonna talk a little bit. Things are gonna get heated, and it says that Cain rose up against Abel. Now, I want you guys to picture this for a second. It says that Cain rose up against Abel. Cain, guys, right? We're thinking Cain is like the big bad, you know, he's the big bad murderer, right? He's big and bad because he's the murderer. But I want you guys to think about this. Not saying that you know, that farmers, you know, can't throw down, right? But imagine Cain is he's more of the, you know, he's dealing with the plants and stuff like that. Abel is the rancher. Abel is the one who deals with the livestock. Abel's the one who's be going out there and like rustling up cattle and whatnot. Okay, Abel can throw down. Let's not think that just because Abel got killed that Abel couldn't handle himself. Right? And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some farmers out there. You don't want to cross some farmers. They'll go upside your head with a hoe, a garden hoe or something like that. I don't know. You don't want to mess around. Right? But let's put it into contrast. It wasn't so much that Abel was like this little wimpy guy. He was a farmer. He was a rancher. He dealt with the livestock. Abel actually had to use a weapon on him because it says he rose up against him. Okay? So like I said, Cain went out there with an attitude. Things got heated between. Cain went out there with an attitude. Things got heated between him and Abel, right? And then Cain, they might have already been fighting. I don't know, because it says he rose up against him. Okay? So it's like somewhere like Abel might have just like, look, man, I'm sick of your mouth. I'm tired of what you came out here talking some mess to me, boy. It's like, so at some point, Cain might have been on the ground. And might have just, while he's getting grounded and pounded, boom, 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 right? Might have flipped over, grabbed him a rock and said, and hit Abel upside his head. I don't know. I'm just going by it saying it rose up against him. Okay? And I'm going by, Abel being a rancher, probably a pretty tough cookie. Okay. So we got Cain, goes out there, has words with him. They probably got into an argument. Okay? Cain goes upside Abel's head. Now, God comes in. Yo, what you do, man? Okay, I need the confession. I know what you did. I need the confession. And then it says that God says the voice of your brother calls out to me from the ground. Okay. Why would the wording be the blood of Abel calls out to me from the ground? We know why. It's like, okay, Abel was making sacrifices to the Lord. God looked on Abel favorably. Why is Abel calling out to God from the ground? Why isn't he with God? And we know that God will bring people into heaven. He brought Enoch into heaven. Enoch was brought into the presence of God without dying. So if Enoch can go to God, whom God looked favorably upon, why not Abel? How come Abel couldn't go to God? He just got murdered. He was murdered because he honored God. And Cain was jealous of the favoritism that God, if I can use that word, favoritism, that God showed to Abel. Well, here's the thing, y'all, and this is very, very, very important. And we see the premium that God puts on forgiveness. It's hard, man. It's hard. I don't care how strong anybody thinks they are. Forgiveness is hard, right? We'd be thinking we tough and stuff like that because we're going to hold strife, a grudge or anything like that. That's a strong thing to do. Forgiveness is like that heavy weight that you're trying to push. And it's like, no, I can't do it. I can't pick up this thing and move it out of the way and forgive this. Well, that's because it's weakness. You really want to show that you're strong? Try forgiveness. That's a big rock to push. Okay? So this right here is giving us a lesson in that. Because we see Cain didn't forgive God and he didn't forgive his brother. And because he lacked forgiveness, he ended up murdering Abel. Because he did not forgive. Now it gets worse. Because even though Abel, what does God say? You have to forgive. Because if you don't forgive, I won't forgive you. Look what mankind did to me. I still forgave them. So I expect you to forgive. So now Abel is throwing down with Cain. Cain goes upside his head. Abel is murdered. A favored man of God. A man who diligently did his sacrifices to the Lord. You'd think he'd be okay for heaven, but he didn't. He went to the ground, and his blood cried out from the ground. Why is that? Because Abel died before he forgave his brother. Forgiveness, he went to the ground. That's why his blood was crying out from the ground. Because he didn't forgive. He didn't get a chance to forgive. They fought in anger. This is why God's like, when he talks about that turn the other cheek, we'll talk about this more, about the practical applications of turning the other cheek and stuff like that. This doesn't mean that God doesn't want you to defend yourself. But if you get caught up in a fight, y'all, and you start going fisticuffs in anger and in hatred, you will fight. And somebody can end up getting killed in unforgiveness, and that can cost you. Right? You won't rest in peace. And that's what Abel's problem was. He was killed and he didn't rest in peace. He wanted justice. He wanted vengeance. So now you have those who say that, yeah, but when we die, we'll be in the presence of God. If we're believers, we'll be in the presence of God and everything will be all perfect. And because we're in the presence of God and we won't be thinking about hostilities and stuff like that. Not true. Not true. We can see that with Adam and Eve. Adam was with God. He was with God. Eve was with God. Were they at peace? No, they got suckered. They got influenced by somebody else who upset their peace. Cain himself talked to God. Did not God come to Cain and say, man, why are you so angry, man? Why is your countenance falling? He was with God. Was he at peace? No. So just because you are with God doesn't mean that you will be at peace. You have to accept God's peace. And Abel, even though he was favorable to God, and God looked on him with favor, and Abel loved God, but he got into that altercation with his brother, and he went to the ground, angry, and without forgiveness, and he took to the ground, not at peace. And we see this now. Am I pulling this out of nowhere? No, because we look in the New Testament. When it says that the martyrs were crying out to God from underneath the altar. They went to their death testifying to God. But they were under the altar, meaning that they were in separation. They were still in separation from God. They said, God, when are our brothers going to be avenged? We want vengeance. So even though they went to their grave, testifying, martyred for their faith, right? So we think that, oh, when we die, we go to be of God and everything's perfect. It's like, no, you have to accept that peace. But you can have people who will go to their grave loving God, but may go to the grave in anger and may still want vengeance. And you can't really embrace heaven without that. So be careful, y'all. Don't harbor anger and hatred. Forgive. Forgive. Hard thing to do. I know it's easier said than done. Okay? So when he said, what have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. So now cursed are you from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. As often as you work the ground, it will not yield its crops to you again. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Okay? And like I said, I'm not going to go too far into the weeds with this, guys, because, you know, when we get into further into Luke, you know, when we talk about forgiveness and stuff like that, you know, we'll get into it. Let me just leave you with this. Forgiveness is not the absence of justice, right? Just marinate on that. Many of us understand that. For those who are, you know, kind of new into Christianity, who say like, you know, it's like, what, am I supposed to give somebody who does me wrong and I'm just to be like, no harm, no foul, and just forgive them? Forgiveness is not the absence of justice, and I'm going to leave that there, and we'll explore that, you know, when we read in the New Testament, in Luke. All right. So Cain said to Adonai, man, my iniquity is too great to bear, since you expel me today from the face of the ground, and I must be hidden from your presence. Okay, so see, like Cain's just thinking about himself. He didn't even get his brother a second thought. All he's thinking about is what's going to happen to him. No remorse, y'all. He's not like, oh man, God, man, I'm sorry I killed my brother or anything like that. It's like, you just killed your brother and you're worried about what's going to happen to you. You know? Like, wow, really selfish, man. Really selfish. Hey, so since you expelled me today from the face of the ground, and I must be hidden from your presence. Right? Now, at least that's one thing he's got right. It's like, yeah, dude, you're gonna be out of God. You're gonna go out of the presence of God. Yeah, that's gonna suck. At least he knows that. Right? Then you will be, okay, and then he says, then I will be a restless wanderer on the earth. Anyone who finds me will kill me. But Adonai said to him, in that case, anyone who kills Cain anyone who kills Cain is to be avenged sevenfold. Okay? Avenged 7 times over. So Adonai put a mark on Cain, so that anyone who found him would not strike him down. Then Cain left Adonai's presence and dwelled in the land of wandering east of Eden. Okay, now the big mystery is, who is Cain afraid of? All right? And guys, I hope, you know, I've written a story about this, and I hope you guys will support it. And I go into illustrations about how this works. Stay tuned for it. I hope to be able. I've been talking about it. Some of you guys know I've been talking about it for a while, but hopefully, God willing, I'll be bringing that to you guys soon. So we got. Okay, people wonder, well, who was it that was on the earth? You have those who insist that there had to be other people on the earth. And it's like, y'all, there was nobody else. There wasn't anybody else. Okay? There was Adam, Eve, the children that they had. The world had not been populated yet. But population is getting ready to start. Cain was not worried about another human being out there. Cain was not worried about his brothers and his sisters coming to seek vengeance after he's long gone. Okay? Because if that's the case, then that would mean that they did not learn the lesson of forgiveness that Cain was supposed to learn. It's like, okay, Cain has gone out there, and they're going to go out there and say, well, wait a minute. You understand that the reason why Cain killed his brother first, there was a lack of forgiveness here. Let's not carry on the not forgiveness problem. Okay? It's not anybody else. It's no other human being that is coming after Cain or is going to run into Cain while they're out there. Here's the deal. What Cain is afraid of, Cain is afraid of the fallen angels who already occupy the earth. That is who he's afraid of. Okay? How do I back this up? What does it say? I will put a mark on you. Anybody who finds you, and if they kill you, okay, I'll avenge you sevenfold. Now, go ahead and jump into Revelation. What does it say? These demons will be released. And these demons are not to harm those who are sealed on their forehead. God puts a seal on these people. And these angels that he sends out, these fallen angels that he sends out, they bring up that are from the abyss, these demons that he brings up, that he releases, they will be going and they are going to be causing torment towards people. But they're not to kill those who have the seal on their forehead. That's where I get that from. These are the same people. This is painting a picture for you. This is giving you a picture of what's going to happen in Revelation. Cain is going to be sealed on his forehead. And that's why the angels will not harm him. Ain't nobody else going to be able to read the seal. This is going to be an angelic. It's going to be a seal for angels to understand. And those angels will not murder Cain. Let's see. And these are fallen angels. Not everyday, not your heavenly angels. Well, they're all heavenly, but these are angels that were in heaven and they've fallen. All right. But Adonai said to him, in that case, anyone who kills Cain is to be avenged 7 times over. All right. Let's see. Anyone who kills Cain. Okay, so Adonai put a mark on Cain so that anyone who found him would not strike him down. Then Cain left Adonai's presence and dwelled in the land of wandering, or Nod, east of Eden. Cain was intimate with his wife. Oh, the big question. Well, who was Cain's wife? I know it's gross, y'all. It was his sister. There wasn't anybody else out there. It was his sister. Now, one would say that, okay, well, then that would mean that God purposely set mankind up to sin by committing incest. It's like, no, God didn't. God warned Adam of this. Okay? Really, technically he warned him. Here's the technicality. When God says, look, man, do not eat from this tree. When you do, you will die. That's all he should have had to say to Adam. That's it. Okay, Adam had it really freaking good. He had it better. Oh my God. I mean, Adam, had, paradise. Everything's perfect. Everything's good. He's got, an amazing wife, just molded perfectly for him. He's got it made, guys. He's got it perfect. And despite all that, let me see, where are we at? Despite all that, God let him know. It's like, look, man, there's just one rule. All you got to do is follow one law. Don't eat from this tree. Okay, well, he did. Now, when that happened, all the things that mess up mankind entered, right? It didn't begin, like death and stuff. Like I know people think that, death originated with Adam. Death didn't originate with Adam. Okay? Death came into the world through Adam, but death was already here. We read that in the first verses of Genesis. Okay? But death comes into the world, and everything that is sinful, everything that's going to miss the mark, everything that's wrong, right, is going to come through this act. And one of those things is going to be incest. And God's like, so let's not say that God set them up to sin. No, he didn't. Right? All God had to say, look, man, you'll die. That should have been enough. God didn't lay it on us like, look, man, if you do that, there's going to be a whole bunch of disease. There's going to be war. There's going to be, sex trafficking. There's going to be, hunger. And there's going to be, there's going to be all sorts of ugly stuff. All your descendants are going to die. I'm going to have to die. God didn't lay all that stuff out on him, right? He just said, look, man, it should be enough for you to know that, dude, if you eat from this tree, you're going to die. Oh, one of those things that are going to happen is incest. You guys are going to have to populate the world through that. I had a pretty good plan for you guys to procreate here in paradise. All right? I don't exactly know what that plan was, but I bet you God had it worked out where it was going to be anything icky about it. Okay? But when Adam and Eve transgressed, they brought in the icky factor. Now they got to populate the world with their siblings. Their children do, right? That wasn't supposed to go down like that. They did that to themselves. God did not do that to them. So yes, Cain's wife was his sister. That's who he went out with. Okay? It's a bad case. It's like the first case of having to take your sister to the prom. All right. And so, where are we at? And, okay, Cain was intimate with his wife. and she became pregnant and gave birth to Enoch. This isn't the Enoch that walked with God. This is the first Enoch, not the second Enoch. And he was building a city, and he named the city after his son Enoch. Okay, so the city is going to be called Enoch. And to Enoch was born Irad. Irad fathered Mahujael. And Mahujael fathered Methushael. And Methushael fathered Lamech. Now, when you examine this genealogy is going to read very similar to, I think this is going to be the genealogy that's going to follow Seth. It looks very similar. Now, this is the genealogy of Cain the murderer. And we notice that the devil, who masquerades as an angel of light, tries to mimic or tries to show something equal to what God is doing. This deceives people. That's why we have people today talking about, oh, there are many roads that lead to heaven. Or they take Jesus, they try to make some candy-coated version of Christianity and try to make Jesus like this all-accepting hippie. Okay? Not true. These things, it's like, as the saying goes, you know, try to play all-accepting and stuff like that. You love somebody right into hell. So these deceptions that we have, that people will try to use, that will try to mimic Jesus, or they try to, emulate these certain tenets of Christianity or spirituality, and try to make it look like, hey, it's the same, it's all the same God, it's all the same thing. I mean, Islam and Buddha and Christianity. I mean, ultimately, we're all worshiping the same God, right? It's all spiritual, man. It's all that sort of stuff. And this right here is kind of showing you that this thought process leads to death. It ends. Cain's bloodline ends. It stops. So, but you'll see that there's going to be there's these similarities that you're picking up. So, wow, these are kind of like these names sound very familiar to the next genealogy. And that's where God is saying right from the get-go, it's like, don't get them mixed up. Don't get it twisted. So we got, then we ended up on 19. Now Lamech took for himself 2 wives. Okay. The name, now right here, people get the assumption that, well, right there, it's like, it doesn't look like God struck him down for that. It looks like, polygamy is okay. It's like, no. Any instance that you pretty much read of polygamy in the Bible, it ends up problematic, letting you know that it ain't a good idea. As the saying goes, Adam was only removed of 1 rib. Okay, it was just 1 rib. And if you need any further proof, it's like you only got one, hey guys, we only got 1 link of sausage. You know what I'm saying? Indicating to you that you're only supposed to have 1 woman to go with it. So it's like we don't have a 6-pack of sausages down there that we're supposed to get out there and share with a bunch of different women. It's 1, letting you know pretty clearly that it's designed for 1 person, 1 female. Okay. So now Lamech took for himself 2 wives. The name of the first one was called Ada, and the name of the second one was Zillah. Ada gave birth to Jabal, and he was a pioneer of tent dwellers with livestock. So we're kind of like seeing the first onsets of these industries. So he was going to be a tent maker. It's like, well, what did they dwell in before? I don't know. If they might have dwelt in huts. They might have dwelt in caves. Who knows what it is that they did for some sort of, accommodations for where they were going to live. And probably just figured, hey, we can make, tents and stuff, wigwams, teepees or something, like make them from hides, whatever they make that stuff from, So, from there, they start making tents, something more sturdy for living quarters. This becomes, part of the industry to help build the city. So we got, was a pioneer, tent dwellers with livestock. And like I said, and that's probably where he got the idea. Hey, I can use its livestock, so I can use their hides. His brother's name was Jabal, he was the pioneer of all who skillfully handled string instruments and wind instruments. All right, he was a rocker. So you're seeing that these first industries that are coming out in the Bible, you got farming, ranching, accommodations making, like tent dwelling, stuff like that, and music. All right, we got music. Got to have your rock and roll, man. Okay, so we got music is another aspect of the first industries, and we got string instruments and wind instruments. Now Zillah also gave birth to Tubal Cain, the foreigner of every the forger of every kind of bronze and iron tools. Okay, so here's your industries, guys. You got metallurgy, you got music, building dwellings, farming, ranching. These are like our first industries that are starting to that are listed in here. Now he says every kind of. Now I want to stop here really quick, because this is where other people get into non-canonical writings. They read the Apocrypha and they're assuming that it was fallen angels or the Nephilim that showed mankind how to make weapons and stuff like that, and showed them how to kill. This is not true. It does not square with the Bible. Cain did not need a lesson in how to kill somebody. He figured, it's like, look, I have a feeling that if I go upside my brother's head with this rock, he gonna die. Okay, so he didn't need a lesson in how to ascertain some sort of weapon to kill his brothers with. Angels didn't have to teach him to do that. The Nephilim didn't have to teach him how to do that. And then you got Tubal Cain, who knew how to forge things out of iron and bronze. It said he made everything out of it. So that probably included weapons too. And the reason why I assume that it's weapons is because, now Tubal Cain's, one other quick point, Tubal Cain's sister was Naamah. There's some, like say for instance in Islam, it suggests that the wife of Noah's name is Naamah. Notice that Noah's wife's name isn't mentioned. I think in rabbinical writings too, her name is Naamah, but the Bible doesn't mention what Noah's wife's name is. But her name is mentioned in here, Naamah, as the wife of Tubal Cain. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I take that back. Sorry, his sister. It says his sister. So, but I guess my point is that name Naamah comes in here. And you know what? Chances are, if it's naming her, Tubal Cain's sister was Naamah, it doesn't say it per se. It was probably ended up making her his wife, being that, because the Bible usually doesn't mention the name. You know, like you would think that the wife of Noah would be named, but it doesn't name her. Or even in this instance, the wife of Cain. It just addresses her as his wife. I don't think it mentions. Y'all read it with me. Help me out here. Did it say Cain's wife's name? I don't think it did. So Tubal Cain's sister was Naamah, and because it mentions her name, chances are it might have been, you know, his wife, just to kind of help you get perspective on where the wives came from in the earlier verses. Now, Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Lamech's wives, listen to my speech. Now, Lamech kind of sounds like an egomaniac, man. He speaks in third person. So it's like, wives of Lamech, come here, girl. Both of you. I got something to say to you. Or Lamech's got something to say to you. You're going to listen to Lamech, right? It's like Lamech is this third person speaking egomaniac. Okay? So Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice. Hear my voice. Lamech's wives, listen to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me, and a boy for bruising me. And it's like, this is what I imagine that Lamech is telling them. And you got some men who are punks like this, who try to intimidate their wives or intimidate their women, right? Saying things like, "Hey, look here. Let me talk to you for a minute. Let me talk to you for a minute. Now I want some respect, and you need to know, you know who you talking to. You see what you know what I did over here, right? You know what I did to him. You know what I did to her. You know, be smacking around little boys and stuff like that, thinking that they're hardcore." You know, showing like, you know, it's like, look, I don't care. If I got a temper, I'm going to let it out. If I got a problem with you, I'm going to let you know. Even if I got to go upside your head. And you know what? And if you don't like it, look, you cross me, I will kill you. Right? Just like I killed them. I killed a man for wounding me. I killed a boy who tried to mess with me. If I kill a boy, I'll kill you. So he's probably trying to put his, trying to play the strong pimp hand with him, and flexing on them and trying to intimidate them. This kind of looks like how it's read, because considering his attitude, he's speaking in third person and stuff. Okay, Lamech's wives, listen to my speech. For I have killed a man for wounding me and a boy for bruising me. And if Cain is to be avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. So this is like, this guy is almost, it's like he's taking the name of God in vain. And saying that I'm invincible. I can do whatever I want. God's got me. The same way he's got my granddaddy. I think Cain was his granddaddy. Cain was around long enough to know who Lamech was. So Lamech probably got it twisted. Just like a lot of us do. We get the word of God twisted. That's why God says, don't take my name in vain. Don't do it. Don't go out there, justifying committing sins and thinking I'm going to back you up. This is one of God's top 10 is don't take my name in vain. Don't get my word twisted and thinking you can justify going to sin against other people and thinking that I ordain this, that I approve of this. Don't be throwing my name around like that. So, but this is what Lamech is doing. He's assuming that he can go ahead and do whatever he wants and God will back him up. Now, could it be that, I'm not sure. Now, I also think it's, like I'm speculating, and please, guys, if you have thoughts on it, this is a study. We study together. So if you got thoughts on it, bring them in there. Bring in your perspectives. Not, we don't do the debate thing. This is fellowship. This is fellowship. So all of your perspectives, and we get in and we dig, we try to find out where it's square, if it squares. Okay. So if Cain is to be avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77 times. Now I think that's kind of interesting because he's saying 77. Now when God tells Cain, avenge 7 times over, this is saying that God is going to administer perfect justice. 7, right? It's going to be complete. My execution will be perfect and it will be complete. It's done and done. This is what Jesus is going to say on the cross. It is finished, right? Jesus is made a perfect sacrifice. 7. So right here, he says vengeance 7 times. Now there you have the one who comes, Jesus. I think it was Peter. Says, how many times am I supposed to give? Like 7? Jesus like, no, man, 7 sevenfold, right? 70 and 7 times over. So I think that's kind of interesting that it's the same thing right here. We're talking about when Lamech says 77 times. And so, actually, if you read it right, it says 70 and 7-fold. Or 70 and 7 times. Jesus says the same thing about forgiveness. It's going to be 70 and 7 times. So now, if you guys have perspective on that, I'd love to hear it. I'm not totally sure. It's like, well, is Jesus like giving like a high arbitrary number? Is Lamech giving a high arbitrary number? I just think it's interesting that between vengeance and between forgiveness, the number 70 and 7 times is used by both Lamech in terms of vengeance and used by Jesus in terms of forgiveness. So a little something for us to marinate on there right there. So now Adam was intimate with his wife again. We're at verse 25 before. Adam was intimate with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son, and she named him Seth. For God has appointed me another seed in place of Abel. All right. So is this that God providing the portion? Is God providing a substitution? Is that what that language is kind of foreshadowing us to? All right. Real quick tip, guys, and for those who are new to this, a lot of us, have kind of come to this, awareness. Guys, you look, the one of the ways that you want to read the Old Testament, I would say that the primary way of reading the Old Testament is that you are looking for pictures of Christ. We read the Old Testament so we know who Jesus is, right? That's really what it comes down to. Old Testament is a prophetic word introducing us to Christ. So Christ doesn't just show up, it's like, because the Bible's already warning you, a lot of people are going to be claiming to be him, or a lot of people giving you a false doctrine and stuff like that. And God's like, no, read this. Read this and look for every picture of Christ that you can find. The book blazes with it. All right. So right here, we got that language again. That language of substitution, that language of God providing, you know, the portion. He's like, I'm going to provide for you. So now we have Seth, who's going to be in place of Abel. Since Cain killed him. Now to Seth was also born a son. He named him Enosh. Then people begin to call on Adonai's name. And I think it's kind of weird because people keep going on about the sons of Seth. You know, when it gets into Genesis 6, and we'll talk. You know, I'm looking forward to talking about that. Very, very lots of very obstinate debate on when it comes to 6. But just to give you like a quick heads up, people try to insist that the sons of God mentioned in 6 are the sons of Seth. And I think it's kind of interesting because people began to call on a name when Enosh was born. So why don't people say it was the sons of Enosh? But they insisted it was the sons of Seth. You know, that's just like a small thing. But the Bible doesn't say that the sons of God were the sons of Seth. It says they were the sons of God. Not the sons of Seth. Not the sons of the godly. Not the sons of the godly sons of Seth. The sons of God. B'nai Elohim. These are angels. Angels in God's favor. Because God calls them his sons. You go through the Bible, and when you're looking for sons of God, it's always with people that God looks on favorably. Right? Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called the sons of God. You know, things like that. When you look at sons of God, it's favorable. So then people began to call on Adonai's name. So, but anyway, we'll get into that a little bit more before I get too far off into the weeds. All right, guys, we covered. Hey, we went through Genesis chapter 4. Awesome, got through it, and I hope there wasn't any cutouts. I wanted to get through it, guys. So I'm sorry if I wasn't that communicative and like look up and say, hey guys, what's up? Like I see Debbie on there, and then who else we got there? We got Sean. Thank you guys. Thank you for showing up. Yeah, I just wanted to read through it really quick before I lost connection again. I'm like all gun shy about it now. It's like, oh man, I got to read really fast or I was going to lose my connection. But shouldn't be worried. If God wants me to flip it, he's going to let me flip it. That's just the way it is. And so cool. I just wanted to sneak that one in really quick. And I'll be here Sunday, usual time. We'll get back on schedule and we'll go further into Luke. And hopefully that was some a good study. Hope you guys were good with it. And God bless you. You guys have a great rest of your weekend. And I'll see you Sunday. Right on.